Did you know that at this very moment, an army of nearly 3 million wild boar is tearing across the state of Texas, and it is breeding faster than anyone can kill it? These are not the pigs you are picturing. They are a massive, destructive, and dangerous invasive species, and it is estimated that they cause well over $800 million in damage to Texas farms and ranches every single year. Landowners have thrown everything at them: traps, ground hunters, poison, fences, and still, the hogs are winning. Some of these animals top 400 pounds. They carry tusks capable of opening a man's leg to the bone. This is not a problem confined to one county or one ranch. It is estimated that feral hogs now roam at least 39 states, and Texas carries the single largest share of them anywhere in the country. So Texas took the fight to the one place the boar could not run and could not hide: straight up into the sky. Today, we will show you how Texas hunters wage an all-out aerial war on millions of wild boar, hunting them down from helicopters moving at over 100 miles an hour, armed with automatic weapons built for exactly one purpose. Because if this state loses this war, it loses its farmland, its crops, and a way of life that has held for generations. Stay with us. Before you can understand why an entire state resorted to helicopters and machine guns, you first need to understand the enemy. Because if you underestimate these animals, the way Texas once did 300 years ago, they will overrun everything you own, and by the time you notice, it is already too late. This war started with a mistake. It is estimated that the first hogs arrived with Spanish explorers more than 300 years ago, brought along simply as a walking food supply. Settlers let them roam free between hunts, and when war and hard times forced families to abandon their homesteads, the hogs were left behind to fend for themselves. Then in the 1930s, ranchers made it worse. They imported pure Eurasian Russian boar for sport hunting on private game ranches. It did not take long. The fences failed, the Russian boar escaped, and they bred with the feral population already running loose, creating a hybrid animal that combined the size and aggression of a European wild boar with the raw numbers of a domestic hog gone wild. The result is on the ground in Texas right now. It is estimated that there are around 2.6 million feral hogs in the state alone, part of a national population believed to exceed 6 million, and they are one of the most adaptable and intelligent invasive species on the planet. A single sow can produce 2 litters a year. Under the right conditions, it is estimated that their numbers can double in as little as 4 months. They root up entire fields overnight. It is estimated that one wild boar can cause at least $1,000 in agricultural damage in a single night of feeding. They foul water sources, collapse creek beds, and destroy the ecological balance that native wildlife and ground-nesting birds depend on to survive. And it is not just the crops. It is estimated that feral hogs carry over 30 diseases and parasites capable of spreading to humans, pets, and livestock: brucellosis, pseudorabies, leptospirosis, trichinosis, tularemia. Hunters who field dress an infected hog without gloves are taking a real risk. In 2007 and 2008, at least 3 hunters in the eastern United States contracted brucellosis directly from feral swine. Get too close to a cornered boar, and the danger is not just disease. An adult male can weigh over 400 pounds and carry tusks sharp enough to gut a hunting dog or open a grown man's leg in seconds. Look at what these animals actually are. And the scale of the problem gets even harder to stomach. A mature boar can stand 3 feet tall and stretch 5 feet nose to tail, with a thick, bristled hide that shrugs off buckshot at anything but close range. Unlike a native deer, a wild hog is not shy of people once it loses its fear. Ranchers across the state report hogs raiding feeders in broad daylight, tearing through backyard fences, and standing their ground against dogs. And because the Eurasian bloodline was never fully diluted out of the population, the hybrid offspring inherited the worst of both worlds: the raw litter size of a domestic pig and the aggression and tusk growth of a true wild boar. And here is the number that keeps Texas ranchers awake at night. It is estimated that to simply hold the population where it is, not shrink it, just freeze it, hunters would have to eliminate roughly 70% of every hog in the state, every single year. Miss that number, and the invasion grows. On the ground, with traps and rifles, that number is almost impossible to reach. This is why Texas needed a new weapon. So why not just trap them, or hunt them on foot, the way ranchers always have? It sounds simple enough, But every method Texas tried on the ground eventually failed. And understanding exactly why is the difference between burning through a fortune and actually turning the tide. Start with trapping. It works, at first. Corral traps and box traps can pull in an entire sounder, a family group, in one night. But feral hogs are smart, and the survivors learn fast. Once a sounder watches the gate of a trap fall on even one of their own, the rest grow wary, change their travel routes, and refuse to enter a trap again, sometimes for months. Ground hunting hits the same wall. A hunter on foot, even a skilled one working at night with thermal optics, typically takes 1 or 2 hogs per outing, and the instant the first shot rings out, the rest of the sounder scatters into thick brush where no one on the ground can follow. Texas law does give landowners one advantage most states do not. Because feral hogs are not classified as game animals, they can be hunted year-round, day or night, with no bag limit at all. Even with that freedom, a single hunter or small crew simply cannot keep pace with a population capable of doubling every 4 months. Poison baits exist, but they carry enormous risk to livestock, pets, and native wildlife that might take the same bait, which is exactly why their use is tightly restricted. Fencing helps protect a single field, but it does nothing to shrink the population pushing against it from every direction. Researchers at Texas A&M have even spent years chasing a longer-term fix, an oral contraceptive that could slow reproduction across an entire sounder without a single shot fired. So far, nothing developed has worked well enough to deploy at scale, and any solution built that way would still be years from the field and expensive to run. And none of it comes cheap. It is estimated that Texas landowners spend well over $130 million a year on hog control between trapping equipment, ammunition, and labor. More than 17 million labor hours across the country every single year, and after all of that, the state is still losing ground. So, quick one before we go on. If you want to keep watching stories like this, the real ones, where invasive species meet the people fighting to stop them, subscribe now so the next hunt lands right on your homepage. Anyway, the pattern was always the same. Every tool that stayed on the ground, the hogs eventually learned to beat. They adapted to traps. They adapted to hunters. They adapted to the dark. There was only one place left where a wild boar could not adapt, could not learn, and could not run, and that was straight above its head. Now here is where the entire story changes. And if you have ever assumed this is as easy as renting a chopper and pulling a trigger, the reality is going to surprise you. Because getting even one detail wrong can cost a landowner their permit, and thousands of dollars in a single afternoon. In 2011, Texas passed House Bill 716, the law everyone now calls the Pork Chopper Bill. Its author, State Representative Sid Miller, pointed to the same numbers that had already alarmed ranchers for years. An estimated 2 million feral hogs at the time, roughly $400 million in direct damage annually, and a claim that every dollar spent on control saved more than $7 in agricultural product. The bill took effect that September, and it did something no other state had done at this scale. It made it legal for landowners and their agents to gun feral hogs and coyotes from a helicopter, not just as a service, but as a paid hunt landowners could sell seats on to help cover their own costs. It was not an easy pass. Federal officials warned the Senate that sport hunting from the air violates federal law, and the bill nearly died in committee over fears that other animals could be hit by accident. It survived, and it is not a free-for-all even now. Every single operation runs on a permit issued through the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, tied to a specific tract of land, a specific target species, and a specific pilot. It is estimated that around 150 companies and individuals are now permitted to fly these hunts across the state, each one bound by a contract with the rancher whose land they are clearing. Some outfitters have built entire brands around it. One of the best known holds its own federal firearms license, allowing it to manufacture and maintain its own rifles rather than rent them, and every paying hunter sits through a safety briefing before the aircraft ever leaves the ground. Harness checks, muzzle discipline inside a moving helicopter, and a strict rule on when a gun can and cannot be fired relative to the tail rotor. Skip a step in that checklist, and it is not just dangerous. It is grounds for the entire operation to lose its permit. Then comes the hunt itself. Most flights happen in the dead of winter, when the trees are bare and a hog has nowhere left to hide against open ground. The helicopter drops low, sometimes running sirens to flush the sounders out of thick brush and into the clear. The gunner leans out the open door with an AR platform rifle, semi-automatic in most operations, fully automatic in others, built specifically for this kind of work. A line of boar breaking from the tree cover. Fire, fire again, reload, push it. The pilot banks hard, chasing the sounder across the field at highway speed while the shooter works, calling out range and direction over the noise of the blades. Down, 2 more breaks left. Push it. The sounder scatters into a tree line, and the helicopter follows, dropping altitude to force them back into open pasture, where there is nowhere left to run. It is over in seconds. The whole engagement, from first sighting to the last hog down, rarely runs longer than a minute before the aircraft is already climbing again, hunting for the next line of movement in the grass. The results are brutal and fast. It is estimated that a single helicopter can take more than 100 hogs in one 10-hour day, more than a ground crew might manage in a month of nights. It is not cheap. At roughly $1,500 an hour, with hunt packages starting near $3,600 for 2 hunters, and including everything from ammunition to trophy photos, this is not a tool every landowner can afford to run on their own. But for a rancher watching an entire cornfield disappear overnight, it is the first method that actually works faster than the hogs can breed. Some landowners fly their own land solo, once or twice a year, timed for the bare winter months when visibility is at its best. Others lean on the paying customer model the law made possible, letting an outfitter sell the extra seats to hunters, sometimes father and son trips, sometimes groups from the oil industry looking for a weekend unlike anything else on offer, and using that revenue to offset the cost of clearing their own fields. But here is the question that matters more than any other. After more than a decade of this, of thousands of hours of gunning boar from the sky, is Texas actually winning? Because if even a war fought with helicopters and automatic weapons is not enough, then the future of every farm in this state is genuinely in doubt. The numbers show real force. In a single recent year, it is estimated that there were more than 2,700 helicopter hog hunts flown across Texas, killing over 34,000 hogs, a jump of more than 50% from where the program started just a few years earlier. Demand has grown so fast that state legislators have even debated bills to allow hog hunting from hot air balloons, extending the aerial fight even further. Not everyone in Texas is convinced this is control rather than spectacle. Some longtime hunters and landowners have questioned whether a program built around paying customers is really optimized to remove the maximum number of hogs, or simply to deliver a thrilling afternoon for whoever bought the seat. At roughly $1,500 an hour, critics argue, the hunts remove hogs efficiently only where a landowner can already afford to fly, leaving the smaller, harder-hit family farms to keep fighting with traps and rifles. And the economics still hold up. It is estimated that for every dollar spent controlling these animals, more than $7 in agricultural products is saved, which is exactly the math that got HB 716 passed in the first place. And yet, for all of it, the honest answer is that the hogs are still here, and still spreading. Aerial gunning is the single most effective tool Texas has ever put in the field, but it is estimated that the population still needs to be cut by around 70% a year just to stand still. And no method, not trapping, not ground hunting, not helicopters, has reached that line yet. This is not a war with a victory parade at the end. It is a permanent fight for population control and ecological balance, fought season after season, from the ground and from the sky, against an enemy that arrived by accident 300 years ago and has refused to stop breeding ever since. For the ranchers watching their cornfields disappear one night at a time, that fight is not abstract. It is the difference between a harvest that pays the year's bills and a field torn apart before the first crop ever comes in. Which is exactly why, however the numbers shake out, the helicopters keep flying.